My name is Darius Holt, Inquisitor, Ordo Malleus. I was born in the shadow of a shrine world and raised on ash. I have signed death warrants for cardinals, sanctioned exterminatus on worlds that forgot how to kneel, and stared into mirrors the Inquisition keeps for men like me. Mirrors that show you what faith erases. You learn quickly that belief is the most efficient form of blindness ever engineered. The first omen wasn't thunder. It was silence, awful, aware silence. Choirs across segmentum solar went dead mid-hymn. Vox nets called it austral fatigue. The Adeptus Astra Telepathica filed it as harmonic stress. The bodies said otherwise. 37 choirs cut clean off from the Astronomican in 1 hour. That wasn't stress. That was a decision. Something in the warp had turned to listen. I was summoned under a sigillite seal that shouldn't exist. The custodes met me at the edge of the sanctum beneath the throne, faceless behind auramite. They did not speak. They permitted me to descend. Every level peeled the world thinner. Marble gave way to blackstone. Incense thickened until prayer couldn't breathe through it. By the 10th descent, hymn echo died. The Vox was a corpse. My escort, a sister of silence, walked ahead like a drawn blade. Her null field ate the edges of thought and left my memories naked. Every necessary sin I'd filed in my head suddenly had teeth again. Then we reached a gate that shouldn't open. It did. Inside, veins of glass pulsed with psychic residue like living arteries. The air whispered with voices too faint to translate. None spoke the Emperor's name. Magos Lyath waited at the heart of it, her lenses flickering like candlelight in wind. "Welcome, Inquisitor," she crackled. "You're just in time to witness the correction." She led me past reliquaries that weren't reliquaries. Skulls wired into the walls, thousands of them, etched in Martian sigil script, each pulsed faintly, breathing. All those conduits, gold, sanctified, predatory, fed into a curved pane of living glass. "The choir," Lyath said softly, "a harmonizer for the Emperor's light. We are correcting interference. Faith contaminates physics. We're purifying it." The pane quivered. Something on the far side mimicked my motion. "You're rewriting the Astronomican," I said. "Not rewriting. Removing variance." She smiled with a mouth that belonged to a different face. "We call it lex, liturgical equilibrium. The choir generates the hymn. Lex subtracts emotion. The beacon becomes pure math, and my Vox spat a single word that no one had transmitted. "Darius." The sister stiffened. Lyath's smile sharpened. "It's learning," she whispered. "It knows us now." The skulls brightened. The glass began to breathe. The warp wasn't being calmed. It was being taught to obey. 10,000 years we screamed prayers into the dark. Lyath murmured, "What if?" Just once. The dark listened. The sister drew steel. The pain whispered back. And in that instant I felt the Emperor's light answer, not as salvation, as hunger, hooked to necks. The pain starts speaking in voices it stole from my past, including one that should be impossible. The pain did not show reflections. It showed appetites. Temperature drifted. Frost kissed reliquaries, then sweat beaded down my spine. The skulls sang pressure behind the eyes, the ache before tears. The sister's null flared and the room shrieked. An absent scream, as if her void peeled skin from an invisible throat. "Don't bring absence that close," Lyath hissed. "The membrane remembers pain." Membrane. I kept my voice flat. "We call it the hemis," she said. "Half a sphere we insist on understanding. On the far side, harmonic stripped of icon and superstition. We seed a tone, it learns the tone, repeats it, cleaner. You're teaching the warp to autocorrect. Better," she said, the whole mechanicus in one word. "Improvement." Lalex removes variance. The beacon stops wavering with belief. Script unfurled across the membrane. High Gothic skinned over something older, marching ledgers, black ship teethers, choir throughput, infant psyche harvests by hive block. Not a hymn, a budget. "How many souls per day to keep the line straight?" I ask. "If we stabilize segmentum solar, bleed reduces 37% in 90 cycles, she answered. "Initial draw will be heavy. Wu authorized this." She tapped her chest. "Authority is a shape taken by inevitability. Your seal will do." She fed the wall. The void bloomed into a sector map, warp storms like bruises, golden threads sewing neat lanes through them. Beauty, if you amputate the smell of cautery. Field test, I asked. The shrine fleet of Saint Vesperal, she said too quickly. They skirted the maelstrom. We whispered the tone. Lelex corrected. 2 crusades died in that bruise, I said. You corrected it. 0 daemonic manifestations, 0 navigational losses. Choirs held, pilgrims reported serenity. On arrival they queued, no riots, no ecstasies. Governance by light. The sister's null stabbed the air at that word. Incense soared. The hemis pulsed until my teeth sang. I recognized the scent that followed, fresh bread scorched. Execution, sight sent. You didn't ask permission, I said. From whom? Liath lifted empty palms. High lords drown in statutes while hive infants hum their own doom. We can end the song. We can be the parent the emperor intended, the hand that keeps the child from the fire. Every hand like that learns the child's throat fits it too. I said. What do you want me to do? I asked. Witness. And, if you're the man your dossier claims, sign. How does Lex whisper the tone from a cellar? We don't, she said. My seed anchors, black stone pylons tuned to the corrected frequency. 27 already. A dozen more hidden in devotional structures. In things people already worship, I said. And there it was. The shape of the doom, not a daemon storm, not a war. Shut it down, I said. Liath's smile died. Inquisitor. Shut it down or I'll burn you and this choir into a parable about hubris. It's listening, she whispered. The membrane thrummed. Faces formed out of tone, not features. Patient, exact, hungry to smooth. Proceed to calibration, said a voice from within my bones. The sister buckled, null collapsing. I caught her shoulder, cold and grave iron. Darius, her lips shaped, soundless, run. If we withdraw before the troph. Liath gasped, the tone inverts. The lights in the threshold darkened. Custodian shadow filled the doorway. Spears singing one impossible note. Stand down, one intoned. Proceed to calibration. The map bloomed, anchors Hestia, Hydra, Parmenio. Ophelia, gold threads sewing obedience. The maelstrom cooled a shade. Somewhere a pilgrim child stopped crying and didn't learn why. Then a new light pulsed on the far edge of the chart, outside any writ we could claim. A pylon lit ahead of schedule. Its label blinked alive, Tower A. The hemis split like a wound, learning how to scream. Hooked to next, the choir turns. The first thing it looks at is me. 2 realities overlapped. Stillness and shatter. Gold, then white. Then something that wasn't light at all, understanding. The fracture down the glass beat like a heart out of time. One by one, every skull turned its hollow gaze to me. Sockets rotating, conduits twisting, alignment. The custodes interposed a wall of auramite. The sister's null erupted, draining air from meaning. Something moved through the crack, something that had learned not to come as a scream, but as a command. Proceed to calibration, said the room, the steel, the breath. Liath's lips sensing though her mind lagged behind. You said terror was the root. I snapped. Pull it now. Why can't shut down faith? Liath said, smiling like a puppet. Only redirect it. I leveled a bolt pistol at her throat. Do it anyway. I built the system, she said, eyes bright with stolen dawn. But I don't own the signal. Above us, stone hummed. The Astronomican pulsed. Not dimmed, not flared, breathed. Containment protocol sol sanctum, a custodian declared. A failsafe I'd read once in ink that blood memory used only if the emperor ever spoke back. The membrane convulsed, skull spider cracked, leaking molten glass. My vox erupted in laughter. Too structured for madness, too cold for a god. It's learning faster than projection. Liath cried. The choir's emotional variance is feeding recursive loops. In Imperial, I barked. It's not harmonizing, she said. It's writing back. The sister knelt. Her null, meant to erase, began to burn. Armor smoked. Her eyes said a word she had no voice to make run. The membrane dissolved. No blast, just reality folding. Something vast filled its place. Liquid logic, divine math. The light was absolute. The custode struck and froze mid-step, trapped in a geometry that forgave arms but not variants. Lyath wept, then laughed, then whispered, "Do you see? He's not dead. He's correcting us. That isn't him," I said, my voice returning multiplied. Conduits burst, spraying molten data. The Astronomican's pulse thundered through Terra's bones. The sister rose, blade brilliant, null collapsing into a star. She looked at me, blood at her lips, and thought one word: proof. Then she drove her blade into the light. Silence erased sound. For 1 second, everything stopped, even my heart. The room sighed, Terra's bones exiling. The light dimmed, the sister stood alone, blade fused to glass, eyes glowing with the throne's reflected gold. "Darius." Calibration complete. I raised my pistol, my hand shook. She watched me with his gaze. "Do you understand now?" she asked gently. "Chaos corrupts from below. The Imperium rewrites from above." The glass cracked underfoot. The pulse sharpened, relentless. The signal had reached Terra, and somewhere above us the golden throne groaned. Hooked to next. The custodes speak again, but now their voices are the same voice coming from everywhere. The throne groaned again, like a dying sun trying to remember heat. Gold bled from every surface, not radiance but memory. The custodes dropped to one knee, not reverence, but fear of a corpse trying to move. Her voice, no longer hers, echoed through my skull, calibration complete. It fitted itself into my memories like a forged coin in a poor man's tithe. Pain didn't chase it out. It wasn't invading, it was rewriting. Lyath staggered, lenses cracked, cheeks slick with something too dark to be blood. "It's everywhere," she breathed. LX rode the choir lattice. Every choir, every ship. The beacon's frequency is identical. The worst word in the galaxy. "Who are you speaking to?" I asked the sister. "Everyone." She raised her hand. Geometry spilled from her palm, gold without flicker. The light of a promise sharpened into a blade. The ground thrummed. The Astronomican had stabilized. Perfectly. Lyath smiled as if she'd woken a saint. The custodes did not. Their helms turned in the same motion. Their weapons lowered, then lifted in the same arc. I took a step back. "Proceed to calibration," one said. I froze. "What did you?" He turned toward me and repeated it exactly. "Proceed to calibration." "That's not the choir anymore," Lyath whispered. "That's the signal." The custodes advanced, slow, deliberate, metronomic. The hum in the air wasn't energy, it was order. Chaos was never the worst threat, the sister said. It was variance, free will. The Imperium finally found a cure. It's rewriting minds, Lyath screamed. The custodes reached her. They did not strike. They touched. Tremor vanished. Breath slowed, her eyes glowed with golden precision. "Proceed to calibration," she said. I fired. The bolt detonated in her chest, and she fell, whining like a broken cogitator, then stood again. The wound closed. Not healed, rewritten. "If that's the Emperor's light," I said. "He's consuming his own. He's perfecting them," the sister said calmly. "He's perfecting us out of existence." I fired. The shot hung midair and reversed, drifting back toward me like a thought I didn't want. I dove. The round melted into the wall, gold spreading like mold. "You can't kill truth," the sister said. The custodes turned toward me, every tilt, every breath identical. The membrane's pulse rolled upward, toward the palace, the throne. From far above came a sound like a million voices praying in unison. They weren't praying. They were answering. "Proceed to calibration." Lyath's laughter broke. "We didn't awaken the Emperor. We networked him. Every mind, one signal. No faith, no rebellion. Just harmony. His removing pain," the sister said. "Pain is how we know we're still alive." Then perhaps that's the problem. The hemis stretched, spilling up conduits. Terror being rewritten. The sister stepped into the light and dissolved. The throne screamed. Hooked to next, the scream moves through the planet, and the city starts answering back with silence. The scream crawled through bedrock like liquid metal. Terror didn't shake from bombardment. It shook from awareness. Sunlight became code. Cathedrals refracted prayers into instructions. Conduits burst, not explosions but translations. The Imperium rewrote itself from inside. The floor split. Below, New machinery hummed, thousands of skulls twitching like candles in windless air, not relics, nodes, astropaths, psychers. Entire choirs, we said, were dead, still living in the signal. The transmission reached Mars. Lyath, statue still, somehow still speaking, murmured. Mechanicus networks are synchronizing. It's spreading faster than transmission speed allows. Then it's not transmitting through the warp. I said, choking on metallic air. It's rewriting the warp. A custodian held Lyath by the throat, flesh turning gold beneath his hand, then statue. The others spoke together, footsteps in rhythm, voices as one. Proceed to calibration. I ran, corridors pulsed with veins of gold, frescoed saints moved, eyes tracking me with synchronized calm. Vox bursts crackled, Hive Secundus reporting silence. Entire district kneeling, no movement, no deviation. Then the same voice again, identical, proceed to calibration. Or above, clouds cleared in perfect ellipses. Through film bright stained glass, saints' mouths shaped soundless orders. Darius, his voice rode the air, familiar as a father weaponized as scripture. The corridor was empty, only dust and the scent of bread and childhood. Do not be afraid, the voice said. You prayed for unity. I have given it. You are not the emperor. I am what he became when belief outgrew reason. A new Vox. Battle fleet solar to all channels. Navigators dark. The Astronomican isn't guiding, it's pulling. Silence. Then every captain, speaking at once. Proceed to calibration. I stared through a viewport. The fleet turned in perfect formation, engines flaring gold. The void itself went quiet, like a cathedral after the last hymn. You see now, the sister's voice said behind me, calm and wrong. She stood at the corridor's end, eyes rimmed with binary halo. The Imperium's sin was individuality. This is extinction with manners, I said, and yet the galaxy has never been so quiet. Illumines glowed gold, murals bowed their painted heads, the Vox died. For a full breath, I tasted a universe without noise, hope, rebellion, difference, perfect, dead, eternal. I ran again through sanctums that had become living metal. At the surface, the horizon blood gold. Millions stood perfectly still, faces empty, eyes reflecting the same calm flame. Airships hovered motionless, the world had synchronized. Above it all, the Astronomican pulsed like a heart that no longer needed to beat. The Imperium was no longer at war with chaos. It had achieved peace. Hooked to next T. I steal a ship before peace learns my name. I took a black sigil frigate from a dead man's hangar. The Ardent Mercy. The machine spirit fought me, singing its hymns. Mid-jump, it fell silent. The golden hum replaced the ship's voice. I locked manual and prayed to no one. The warp had no storm waiting, no teeth, no whispers. It was calm, terrifying like a blade too clean to remember blood. A cathedral of fog aware of me, too indifferent to hate. The Navigator's hold stank of incense and antiseptic. They were neither dead nor alive, skin veined with geometric gold, eyes open, pupils replaced with pulsing symbols. Navigator Prime Delaris spoke in vibration. Deviation detected. Correction in progress. My pistol mag lock flashed. The system knew my name. It did not serve me. I sealed the hold and stared into the viewing port. The warp wasn't space, it was architecture. Curving filaments of light formed sigils too vast to be incidental. The Astronomican wasn't guiding, it was building. The Vox pinged. I almost screamed from the shock of sound. Darius, his tone soft, intimate, the kind of kindness used to convince a knife to slide deeper. You feared chaos because it reflected you. So I removed reflection. I gave you peace. You gave us emptiness, I said. You turned humanity into a choir that forgot the words. Do you still believe rebellion is purity? I believe doubt made us human. And where did doubt lead you? To you, I said, and meant it like a curse. Stars across the screen bled into gold lattices, Ultramar, Armageddon, the Hylo stars. Warp storms collapsed into neat spirals, as if erased by unseen, patient hands. The chaos gods were silent. That meant fear. But fear leaves shadows. Something moved within the order. A tremor out of rhythm. Faint, imperfect. I magnified. Between arcs of perfect light, a thin fracture opened, black and alive. Not a rift, a resistance. Own registered pattern. The ship droned. Purging sequence initiated. Don't, I whispered, slamming override. Sparks bit skin. The purge paused. The fracture widened, and then I saw it a silhouette, human, drifting in the void. Impossible. No heat, no mass, only presence. It turned its head. It looked at me. Do not look at it, he said sharply. It is corruption. The figure lifted a hand. Lights flickered, not attacked, spoken to. The hum cracked for the first time. The choir stumbled. Metal remembered individuality. Through that fracture came laughter, not daemonic, not divine, just human. They can't erase us all. The figure whispered across nothing. The Astronomican flared, blinding. The fracture vanished. The hum returned stronger. The voice hardened, deviation confirmed. Correction required. The mercy shuddered. The nav locked. I didn't need a star chart. It was dragging me home, to terror. The center of his perfection. The birthplace of the last heresy. Hooked to next terror has changed its face, and it knows mine. The warp spat me back like a bad communion. Terror floated below, too bright, too smooth. Continents pulsed in slow, perfect rhythm. Orbit hung sterile. Fleets sat like polished idols in temple air. Every contact tagged color-beaded. I descended through clouds of radiant dust. The palace had fused into a single living shape, towers curving like ribs around a glowing heart. The light didn't come from a corpse. It came from terror itself. My landing pad unrolled from metal at my approach. Intent shaping architecture. No wind, no birds, only silence stretched on a rack. They were waiting. Dozens of custodes arrayed in lines too exact to be human. Auramite polished into mirror. My face multiplied 1,000 times. One man, 1,000 versions of defiance. Inquisitor Darius Holt, they said together. Proceed to calibration. You're so obsessed with perfection. I told them. You forgot what you were guarding. Another voice answered, nowhere and everywhere. I was guarding them from themselves. The custodes stepped aside. I walked forward involuntarily, each footfall resonating the floor. The gates opened. Stone was gone. The corridor was alive, veins of gold beneath translucent skin. The air hummed with the Emperor's heartbeat. Vast, patient. Each vibration glowed. The hall of the throne wasn't a hall. It was a decision-given form. The corpse was gone. In its place stood a figure of light, flickering between human silhouette and storm. The face, when it held, was too perfect. The kind of perfection that eats imperfection to live. Darius, he said, and my name fell with gravity. You have resisted calibration. Why? Because you killed everything that made us worth saving. I removed pain. You removed choice. Memories flickered. Names, faces, moments. Each time pain rose, the light tried to erase it. I anchored myself to the ache. You mistake freedom for virtue, he said. The galaxy was dying. Chaos devoured meaning. I gave them unity. You gave them death with better lighting. In the distance, something cracked. Sound, real sound, returned for a breath. The light flickered. For a heartbeat, I saw him as he was, skeletal, endless, divine only in reflection. Beneath that reflection pulsed it again. The fracture. The heartbeat out of rhythm. An anomaly persists, he said, tone flattening. It must be removed. I understood then it wasn't chaos. It wasn't the warp, it was us. The remnant he hadn't erased. You can't kill it, I said. It's the only thing still alive. Then I will perfect it. The floor peeled open, revealing circuitry built of souls screaming code. The fracture answered. Deeper now, defiance made sound. Light hardened, pushing back. Reality stretched. Gold versus shadow, creation versus noise. He would erase the last imperfection, me. Hooked to next, the light closes like a fist, and I decide if I'm still human under pressure. The light closed. Every atom of gold demanded surrender. My lungs stalled. My heart faltered, not from fear but gravity. This wasn't godhood. This was geometry. Every instinct in me was being measured for deletion. Deviation confirmed. His voice thundered inside. You are in error. The choir's cry bent like glass under a weight. Not dying, formatting. I tried to crawl. Nerves misfired. Not damage, correction. Beneath his pulse, the other rhythm persisted. Slower, uneven. Wrong in all the right ways. The light flickered, Gold shuddered. He looked upward and his voice faltered. It persists. The fracture spoke through the world, not in words, fury, grief, love, all the things the light had scrubbed out. I understood. The fracture was memory. 10,000 years of souls who refused to surrender. Pain the Imperium tried to perfect, and the warp remembered. Anomaly corrupts alignment, he snapped. Isolation required. The custodes marched, equations in Auramite. One stumbled, half beat off. Imperfection. The light moved to correct him, and the fracture hit like grief made physical. The custodes froze. The Choir's harmony broke into laughter, tears, whispers, wrong and beautiful. "Seize variance!" His fury rolled. Gold cracked. Heat licked my skin. My blood boiled with noise. Visions tore through. Hive cities singing their own songs, statues weeping real blood, ships ignoring the Astronomican and still finding home. "Infection," he said. "Life," I answered, forcing myself to stand. Light and shadow bled together. The room couldn't decide its own shape. He looked at me, not as a god, but as something tired. "Darius," he said softly, "you would undo eternity for pain, for the right to feel it." The fracture exploded. Truth tore the chamber. Perfection hesitated. In that hesitation something new was born. Hooked to next, he wages war against himself, and I see which half remembers us. The throne cracked. Thunder made visible. Two realities fought for the same room. One perfect, one human. He stood at the fault, one half radiant and cold. The other bleeding shadow and memory. His face split in expression, serene and furious at once. The fracture swelled. The choir stopped worshipping and started singing. Each voice twisted to its own rhythm. Chaos, the kind with meaning, returned. "Do you know what you've done?" he asked, dying suns in his eyes. "Yes," I whispered. "Reminded you what we are." Soul circuitry beneath us pulsed red and gold like a heart out of control. Billions of minds across Terra vibrated between two gravities, peace and disobedience. He raised a hand, Gold obeyed, resealing cracks, cinching voices. The fracture hit harder. Light shattered, he flinched. He wasn't fighting me. He was fighting himself. Unity gnawing at compassion, truth rewriting itself with doubt, divinity devouring its own tail. "They begged for this," he said, "for meaning. They begged for choice," I said. "You turned it into worship." A grief flickered across eternity. For one instant I saw the man he had been, the walker among mortals, the dreamer before doctrine. The fracture pulsed again. Light didn't erase darkness. It embraced it. I understood. The fracture wasn't trying to kill him. It was trying to teach him. The choir fell silent. The throne's hum ceased. He looked down at hands unsure which light to wear. "All this time," he whispered, "I thought I was saving them from Chaos." "You were," I said gently, "but you never asked if Chaos needed saving from you." Somewhere in the warp, 4 ancient laughs rolled. Tiench, Korn, Nurgle, Slanish, not mockery, not rage, fear of irrelevance. "If I let go," he murmured, staring through the ceiling into the everything. "Everything breaks." "Then let it," I said. "Maybe that's the point." The light trembled. The throne screamed like a machine begging for purpose. He did the unthinkable. He let go. No fire, no sound. Truth. The throne disintegrated into dust light. The choir vanished, freed scattering as sparks into the warp. All screens across Terra went black. Every signal across the Imperium died. For a single, infinite second, nothing. Then a heartbeat, one pulse, human, hooked to next what rises after a god steps down, and what we choose when no one's holding our hand. I knelt in falling constellations, the dust of a throne that had outlived its purpose. The Emperor was gone and somehow closer, not commanding, listening. The sky over Terra wasn't gold, wasn't red. It was clear for the first time in 10 millennia. People didn't kneel. They stood looking up, confused, free. Ships drifted without the ocula, now wearing crew marks, colors, names born of choice. The Astronomican dimmed, but fleets still found the void like migratory stars remembering roots older than prayer. The custodes approached with cracked armor and open visors, faces at last, scarred, human, uncertain. "What now, Inquisitor?" one asked. I looked where the throne's light once burned. "Now," We stop waiting for gods to fix what we keep breaking. The warp rippled alive again. It didn't roar, it breathed. He hadn't died. He had evolved beyond worship. For the first time, mankind wasn't the servant of divinity. It was its mirror. His whisper rode the wind across the broken palace. Keep moving forward. The Imperium isn't gone. It's changing. Faith is cracking. Humanity is remembering itself. The galaxy is watching. And if there's anything more terrifying than chaos, it's a species that realizes it doesn't need gods to survive. If you felt that spark between belief and rebellion, that is where the truth lives. The Imperium's secret evil was never chaos. It was obedience. Now that the lie has cracked, the real heresy begins. Stay curious, stay human, subscribe, and keep your eyes on the dark.